Pakistan. A god is the only thing that can explain the world that we live in, and you're on with Tracie and John. So go for it. Did I pronounce your name right?
Saad?
You pronounced my name right. We spoke before.
Okay, I thought so. Okay, good.
Yeah, so basically, just wanted to give a shout out to all the Muslims listening to this. Ramadan, happy Ramadan.
Oh, okay. I'm going to allow a holiday shout out. I think that's a
happy Ramadan to you.
Yeah, enjoy your holiday.
Thank you. So, well, it's not really a holiday, but anyway. So yeah, well, in my opinion, I think because I've had discussions with my friends about this. I myself, as we speak, I'm trying to figure out a lot of mysteries of the universe that I feel are still unresolved. Obviously, the big question everyone discusses here is God. And so my opinion on this is like in a recent discussion with a friend. So I asked him, so what do you think would be a good reason for the existence of God? And he, according to him, I kind of agreed with him too. He said, well, if you look at the world around you, the way it's made perfectly, and if you look at the ceiling on top of you, you'll see there's imperfections. It's man-made. And the way the world is, how the sky is held without pillars, it's a reference. It's sort of a reference from the Quran too. I'm not exactly quoting it correctly, so I don't want to misquote the source, but it's kind of sort of similar quotation that I've read. So it's basically my way of saying that there's the way the world is made so perfectly. It's very possible. It can't be possible that anyone other than a God could make it. I mean, what would be your opinion on it? Who else could have done it other than a supernatural being?
Why do you assume that it had to be done by a who?
Well, then what would be your opinion? That's the big mystery.
The question would be what caused the universe, not who caused the universe, right? Because we'd have to know that there was a who that caused it before we could even get to the point where we're asking, okay, so who was it? What we're saying is the question should be asked, what's the cause of the universe?
Yeah, I mean, if you remember my last call, we tried to get that common ground thing. We talked about the common ground.
Yeah, I took heat for that, by the way. It's funny. People got upset with me for that, but I don't care.
So sorry for that.
That's okay. I enjoyed it.
So, well, the thing is, like, just going forward with this, I just think that, I mean, there's the Big Bang theory that's been normally accepted as, okay, this is how the world was created, but then who caused the Big Bang theory? It has to be something that makes the world so perfect that even mankind, that even us.
Okay, so wait, just a minute. When you say the world is perfect, I mean, you understand that there are some horrors that go on this planet, right? Even horrors that human beings have nothing to do with. That this planet, if this is perfect, I would hate to see what flawed looks like, right? In the Christian tradition, they actually insert a part to their mythology that says, and then the world got messed up, right? So God made a perfect world, and then people came and sin messed it up. And the reason they insert that is because there has to be some explanation for some of the horrifying things that occur, not just at the hands of humans, but sometimes natural disasters or animals attacking each other or attacking people or diseases that plague, people and other species. And there's like a lot of things on the planet that are pretty horrible sometimes. It doesn't rain and then populations starve to death. I'm not sure that I agree that this is perfection.
Yeah, that's a valid point. The interesting thing, one of my agnostic friends said that to me too. When I asked him that question, I was like, that's a good point. So, I don't really have a good answer for this, to be honest with you.
Right, but if the question is if the idea is that only a supernatural, perfect being could create such a perfect world, does the fact that the world's not perfect play to that at all for you?
Well, now that you mentioned it there, these natural disasters obviously make it seem imperfect. But I mean, in terms of design, in the sense like the way things are for the most part, I mean, I don't know. What else could have? How it couldn't just come out of nowhere.
Well, here's the thing, right? This is actually, and I'm not trying to what do you call it? Like I just want to say that this is a question for cosmologists, right? So for astrophysicists who study the origins of the universe. If a person says, I really want to understand this, it is some heavy science, right? I mean, this is some heavy science. Now, there are some people who have taken the time to put it in lay terms for the population to look at and read, right? So there's a Hawking essay that's called something like The Beginning of Time, and that's sort of a nice user-friendly, layman-friendly explanation of his understanding of what he thinks about the origins of the universe. And if a person is curious about that, they could go and look at that. If you're like super ready to do the work and really knuckle down, you could start learning the science if you don't already know it. I would struggle, I think, with physics. But if you're the type of person who thinks that you might have an aptitude and you might be able to understand some of this stuff, I would say feel free to delve into some of the deeper dives that are available out there, because they do publish research on this. So it's not that there's no study and discovery around this question, but the discovery and the study around it so far has been about just sort of what is the cause and not necessarily a who. Now, that doesn't mean that one day they won't find a who. It just means that right now that's not really on the radar. But if you're curious about it, there are people who make that their whole, realm of research.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
And the thing is, like, it does make sense. And what I want to say is that if you go to any holy book, whether it's the Quran or the Bible, obviously they'll make the claim that God made it. But then, obviously, as a Muslim, I'm supposed to believe that the word. What's in the Quran is true, and I do believe that. So obviously, by giving you that explanation that there's all these passages in the Quran that state that the world was made this way, and there's passages that sort of do kind of if interpreted in a certain way could say that it's talking about the Big Bang theory, or maybe it's not.
No, I understand what you're saying. I mean, to be honest, right? So I've seen a few videos that were put out by Muslim apologists who were talking about some of these ideas about how the Earth was formed. And one of them actually was interesting because it talked about a meteor hitting the Earth and like driving into the center of the Earth and becoming the Earth's iron core. And in fact, that's not the theory. And so what was interesting was here was this person that put together a video saying, and the Quran tells us this, and so it's really amazing because this is what the science says, but when you look up the science, it doesn't say that. So then there's other people who will say, oh, and here's what the Quran says, and this is what the science says, and yeah, that is what the science says. And so it seems like people can kind of put their own spin on what it is the Quran is saying and kind of get it to craft to whatever they understand the science to be saying.
Perhaps, yes. Perhaps you're right.
I mean, it's just something to look into because I've seen different explanations from people saying, and it says this, and this is the science, and sometimes they're right and sometimes they're wrong. So I don't know. It seems to me like it might be flexible.
It could be. It could be. That's something I definitely a more knowledgeable expert would know.
Exactly.
I really don't have the answer to that question myself.
Okay.
Either I go by what it said, or either I don't.
Okay. Well, was that the question? I mean, did we at least get through the question?
Yeah, for the most part, it was very interesting.
Okay.
It was very eye-opening, actually.
Well, thank you, Saad. I appreciate you calling.
Thank you so much,
Okay.
and thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, I appreciate it.